We fought for the right to be able to discuss and engage each other, the right to be able to express different views. We did not fight for the right for people to censor each other, for people to say, speak for only 2 minutes. I could have been doing something else. I came here on my own. I paid my own way. I wanted to meet Kenyans in Stockholm. And I would just urge people who feel that they don't have time to engage, to just do the democratic thing. There are people who are ready to stay even longer. If you are pressed for time, please, do not hold people at ransom. But now to get to the substance of what I came to say. And was telling me that what is happening in Nairobi, what is happening in Kiambu, those countries were considered very stable, very democratic, very peaceful. Who knew about the short sleeve when your hand is cut off here and the long sleeve when it's cut off from there? Who knew about those things? What is happening in our country is that there's a Liberia waiting to happen. There's a Sierra Leone waiting to happen in different forms. It may not happen next month or even next year. But the unresolved issues which have to do with our history. First of all, we never finished the struggle for our country's independence. December 12, 1963, when we were supposed to have become a free and independent country, is when we got sold into neocolonialism. And so instead of just having Britain ruling us, we had all the imperialists doing that. A lot of people talk about the struggle of the Mau Mau, but people forget that Bamwenge and thousands of Mau Mau guerrillas refused to come out of the forest because they said, our struggle is not done. So what has been happening, we see manifestations today, in the year 2007, and we think, oh, it's Mungiki, kill those, arrest those young Kikuyos. Oh, it is those Sabaot warriors, kill them. And the methods that our government is using are the methods that the colonials used to use when it came to conflict. They used to call them pacification campaigns. You send people out and they demolish, they kill everybody. What do? They rape women, they burn people's homes. What happened in northern Kenya? People don't talk about that those atrocities. A whole section of the country was turned into a military exercise yard. People don't talk about Kenyans,
massacre. Kibich massacre.
Kenyans being dragged behind Land Rovers, being dropped from helicopters. And if you go to the 50s, women having bottles inserted in their vaginas, young men are being forced to walk on charcoal. All those issues, has there been methods that the colonials used to use when it came to conflict? They used to call them pacification campaigns. You send people out and they demolish, they kill everybody. What do? They rape women, they burn people's homes. What happened in northern Kenya? People don't talk about that those atrocities. A whole section of the country was turned into a military exercise yard. People don't talk about Kenyans,
massacre. Kibich massacre.
Kenyans being dragged behind Land Rovers, being dropped from helicopters. And if you go to the 50s, women having bottles inserted in their vaginas, young men are being forced to walk on charcoal. All those issues, has there been a Truth and Reconciliation Commission about what happened during the Mau Mau? Have the people of Wagala been compensated? How about the people who spent years swimming at Nyayo House? But you know, the perpetrators are still walking around, and sometimes they're the people who are in charge of our security. Now, we're going to have an election. Somebody's going to be a president at the end of the year. But what country are we living in as Kenyans? Why have we been going periodically to vote? We want to vote in this MP, vote out that minister, all those kind of things. We want this president, next time we want the other president. But underlying, what happens between the elections? Corruption in the Kenyan context is a crime against the Kenyan people. It's against, because what is taken away by corruption? Those of you who live with all the problems of racism and discrimination in societies like Sweden, like Norway, like Canada, there are certain things you take for granted. You take it for granted that coming to this meeting, you're going to have a smooth ride. You take it for granted that nobody's going to try and kill you because they want to rob you of your cell phone. Those are things that people take for granted. And at a certain point, there's what people call a democratic dividend. The right to live in peace, in security, and those kind of things. So we cannot delink the elections. And we know that in Kenya, election year violence is not spontaneous. People are seeing, maybe you saw it on the internet, about Tana River, houses burning, people being killed. One of the factors is that one politician thinks that if he kills people who come from his opponent's backyard, he will have less people voting for that person. See how cynical. And why is all this, or if you look at it now, the struggle for political power, why do people want to become president? Yes, some people want to live in a democratic country, people want all those good things that people say when they're looking for your votes. But let us remember the economic issues in the Eastern Central African region. There is credible reports that oil has been found in northern Kenya. What is happening in Somalia, in Sudan, with the peace processes? Already you see a lot of Kenyan business people are benefiting, are going into to loot or participate in taking charge of the opportunities there. The role of China in Africa, not just in the Sudan, not just in West Africa, but even in Kenya, in terms of resources. China has got this explosive growth rate, but they are thirsty for oil. They're thirsty for working classes of the North. Most of us are part and parcel of the global movements of labor. Most of us have been drawn into this vortex, the reconfiguration of the world capitalist system. And we know that most of us have become what people call contingency workers. Jobs without a future. Short-term contracts, part-time work, no job security. Even though we're on the margins or we're in the belly of some of the most powerful economies of the world, we become disposable people. So, but then we are also citizens of the world, even as we acquire paper citizenship of all these other countries. Now, what is our role? As Kenyans who have become Swedes, Norwegians, Canadians, Americans, Tanzanians, South Africans, because we are all over the place. I think that the accumulated, even for those of you who do not see yourself as political activists, just living in these societies has given you perspectives which Kenyans need. There are certain, the way people organize workers here, the way people organize political parties, the way people run associations here. Those are skills. That's for me, that's one of the reasons why I went back to be part of the World Social Forum. There's this big meeting happening in Kenya, and I said I want to be part of that. Social justice has always been my credo. This is happening in Nairobi. How can I be in Canada? So for the last 2 years, I've been in Nairobi. But I've said I'm not going back to Canada now. I'm going to stay at home. But I want also the flexibility, because I'm a permanent resident of Canada, that I have family in Canada. My son is there. I can go to Canada, but my base is in Kenya. Let some of us reverse the flow. We understand. I will never condemn, having lived in these societies, I'll never condemn people who, whether for political, for economic, or personal, academic reasons, have chosen to live outside the country. And that's why some of us think that the struggle for dual, not even dual, why should we just stick to two citizenship? Multiple citizenship. Canada doesn't put a limit. There's a guy who was running to be president of Poland. He happened to be a citizen of Poland, Canada, Peru, I don't know how many countries. We have multiple identities, and we should be able to take advantage of that. So I think what I'm trying to say is that the issues in Kenya are not removed from us. Many of us have turned our back on Kenya and said, mimi hizo shida za Kenya, watu wasote huko bana. Mimi sisi tumekuwa waswidi sisi. Well and good, that's a choice you've made. But I think that as we talk about issues to do with Mungiki, issues to do with Mount Elgon, it's about us. We have relatives who are being arrested. We have neighbors, people we know. Something simple like a crash of Kenya Airways. I found that so many people had friends, relatives, schoolmates. So what happens in Kenya affects us. And I think that one of the things that some of us are trying to do, because some of us who are in civil society in Kenya, they would come to Sweden, they would be not too far from here in a hotel, and you just hear about them when they have left. Because our agendas sometimes are controlled by these northern NGOs. Come for this workshop, go to that seminar. You start at this time, people leave the hotel at this time, you're heading to the airport. Some of us want, because this was not part of my official agenda, but we want to make sure that those connections are there. Because